So in the world today, we have for-profit businesses, which is a company that's about making profit. Their goal is to make profit. They don't do a whole lot of good for people typically, but their whole goal is to make the money, the profit. Then we have a nonprofit, which is the charity model. The charity model is they're doing a whole lot of good for people, but they don't have a lot of money. They don't have any sustainable revenue. They drive their organizations on donations and grants. The social impact business, I call it heart profit. So it's a for-profit business, right? So we're in business to make money, but with the profit that we make, we use it to do good for people. And so it's the best of both worlds.
Welcome to the Unknown Options, the place where we explore the unknown options. My name is Will, and today with me, Staci. Staci, it's great to have you here. Give us a rundown on who you are and what you do.
Hi, Will. Thanks for having me. I am actually an entrepreneur. I've had 5 businesses over the last 20 years. My current focus is really focusing on social impact business. So any business that I'm doing now has to do with how can we make an impact in the world? How can we solve some of our social issues with the power of business? Because business has a lot of power behind it, and we can really impact the world. And that's what I really care about at this season, in this season of life.
Okay, I love that. I love it. Your journey is obviously important. We want to highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. For someone who might not know, what is a social impact business?
A social impact business. So this is the easiest way I know how to explain it, by contrasting it to what is in the world today. So in the world today, we have for-profit businesses, which is a company that's about making profit. Their goal is to make profit. They don't do a whole lot of good for people typically, but their whole goal is to make the money, the profit. Then we have a nonprofit, which is the charity model. The charity model is they're doing a whole lot of good for people, but they don't have a lot of money. They don't have any sustainable revenue. They drive their organizations on donations and grants. The social impact business, I call it heart profit. So it's a for-profit business, right? So we're in business to make money, but with the profit that we make, we use it to do good for people. And so it's the best of both worlds. It's like if for-profit and nonprofit had a baby, we get the best of both worlds into the heart profit or social impact business model.
Interesting. I love that. And that's a very unique, obviously unique business model. What made you come up with that?
Oh, that's a very good question. A very good question. What was then started a second insurance agency, and that one got really successful really fast. We made a whole lot of money. But at the end of that journey, I was actually had breast cancer and a 1-year-old baby, and I needed more time to take care of myself and my child. And I didn't want to spend as much time working, but that was a service-based business. So if you're familiar with business, you've got service-based, you've got product-based. Yeah. And so at that point in time, we decided that, hey, what if we shift gears and we move into a product-based business? That way we can scale it globally and we don't have to work as much. That was the idea. That was the thought behind that. So we sold the insurance agency and took that money and invested it into a new product. And we built that product-based company up to about a $5 million company. And we were doing really well. And then we got hit with a lawsuit. And it wasn't anything wrong with the product. It had everything to do with my ex-partner and an ex-employee that had a relationship failure. And we couldn't resolve it amicably. So then it went to court. And then there were some things done that weren't quite above board. And then we ended up losing the lawsuit. So what happened when we lost the lawsuit, we got a $1.6 million judgment against it. And my partner at the time was also my husband. And so from that point forward, there was about a 10-year period where there was just a complete come apart of my life. So we didn't survive. The marriage did not survive. So we ended up divorced. I ended up a single mom. We lost the business. So literally starting from scratch as a middle-aged single mother. But during that, and it was a slow come apart, it was a long come apart. And during that time, what I found was early on, I realized that, drinking a bottle of wine every night was not sustainable.
Yeah.
And I needed to find another way to cope with this enormous grief that had just taken over my entire world. And what I found was that when I was of service to others, when I was volunteering, when I was going and helping someone else, my pain lessened. And so I really just threw myself into service. So I joined several charity boards. I volunteered at the soup kitchen. I did some mentorship programs for kids that were in the drug court program. I just really got involved with all of that, with the charity model, and just really volunteered my time and while my world was coming apart. So about 3 or 4 years into that cycle, I started noticing some things that were very alarming to me. And what I was noticing was that the problems in society that we were seeing with our people were going up. The trajectory of addiction, the trajectory of mental illness, the trajectory of homelessness was increasing at a rate that the charities could not keep up with. So charities do a whole lot of good, and they really take care of the immediate need. So we're feeding people that are hungry. We're getting shelter for people that are homeless. We're, providing mental health resources for those that need that. But we weren't able to keep up with the needs that were out in the community, and the needs kept growing. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I'm a problem solver. So my brain works like, we've got to get to the root cause of the problem and solve this. Otherwise, we're on a trajectory that we're just going to destroy each other and humanity is going to go away.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out something different, and we need to get to the root cause of the problem. And the charity model doesn't get to the root cause. Typically, charity is typically about, let's do this, let's meet this immediate need that people have, which is, it's necessary and it's good. It's good work.
Yes.
But I wanted to take it further. I wanted to get to the root cause of the problem, figure out what was going on. And as a business, we solve problems sustainably. As charity, we have to beg people for money just so that we can help somebody else. And it just didn't feel very sustainable. It didn't feel very powerful. And so I wanted to bring the power of business, the for-profit, the sustainable revenue, to attack these issues at a deeper level. And so at that point, I started talking about this idea that I had, and people were like, oh yeah, that's social impact business. And I was like, what is that? So I Googled it, and lo and behold, it's a thing. And I wasn't the first one to come up with it, but I jumped on the bandwagon at that point in time. And I said, okay, from now on, anything I do, I'm going to do with the goal of solving a social problem. So at that point, what happened, and I kind of had gone into, I totally went into a surrender experiment during that grieving process. I don't know, have you ever read, I see you have a lot of books on your book.
Yeah, I do.
Did you ever read the book, The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer?
I haven't. Michael Singer sounds familiar, but I haven't read that book.
Okay, I highly recommend that, especially the young people. I think if I would have gotten a hold of this book at 18, my life might have been a little bit different. I don't know, but the whole premise of the book is that he just lived his life in a complete surrender to life, to God, to the universe. Mm-hmm. And he was an entrepreneur, and he ended up with multiple businesses, and one of them went public. Like, he had big success, but he wasn't controlling it and driving it. He was really just in surrender and doing the next yes, following the next yes, whatever was inspiring him in the moment. And I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I've lost it all. So I'm just going to try my own experiment and see what happens. And so that's what I did. And I went into this surrender space, and I said, okay, it's my intention to make a positive impact in the world with power and sustainability. I have no idea how that's going to happen. I'm just going to let it happen naturally. Yeah. And I started following the yeses. And so that is how this business, this entire business that I have now, has evolved and come to be, is just following that next yes, following the next yes, and really getting in touch with what I'm inspired to do and following that. And through that process, I've started a company, and we do patented products. So we launch new inventions, because I did figure out in business that if you have a patented product and it's got mass market appeal, you can make a whole lot of money for a whole lot of years. And so
Yeah.
that really gives us a powerful vehicle of revenue coming in to do the good things that we want to do. So that's the base model. IP2Market is bringing new inventions to life.
Okay.
So currently at this point in time, we have 3 products, 4 brands, and 2 patents that we're working on. And we started the company in 2020.
Nice.
So that's kind of the business end of it.
That's
So
right.
when we talk about the social impacts, right? So now we have a vehicle to make money, which is
That's right.
great. Now, what do we do with that money and how do we make social impact? So now I'm going to move over into that realm and kind of tell you a little bit about the background of IP2Market and how we're making a change.
Definitely.
Our focus is on mental wellness and nurturing an environment of mental health for people. We want to stave off the mental health crisis that we're facing in the society we live in today. We have an absolute crisis that's going on with our mental health, and we don't have enough mental health professionals. So we have a shortage of mental health professionals and an overage of mental health needs. And so we have a big crisis going on. So my idea is we start a manufacturing plant to manufacture these patented products. Inside the manufacturing plant, we hire parents of small children. Because if you want to change the world, you get to the children, we can change it a lot quicker because adults are kind of set in their ways and it's a little bit harder to get them to move. But kids are very movable and we can really work with kids. So hire parents with small children. We have a child care facility on site where we actually take care of the kids while they're working. And then we have a commercial kitchen on site. So we provide breakfast, lunch, and take-home dinners for the families.
Nice.
And this does a couple things. One is it takes a load of stress off the parents and it just gives them a break. They don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about daycare, right, for their kids. We're taking care of those things. What that does for the children is it keeps them from being bathed in the constant sea of stress in their life at home. So we take a little bit of stress off. Then the commercial kitchen provides the nutrients needed for proper brain development. A lot of mental health equals brain health. And so if our brains don't have the nutrients they need to function at a high level, they're not going to function at a high level. And if our kids are not getting the nutrients they need for proper brain development, their brains are not going to develop properly, which means they're vulnerable to mental illness as adults. So that's the business model as a whole. And so we work with the kids. We give them the nutrients they need. We work with the parents. So our managers are mental health coaches.
Okay.
So they're actually teaching the parents about meeting their needs and having some peace in their life and not being under a tremendous amount of stress. Because the society we live in creates a lot of stress for a lot of people. So we're going to teach them how to cope with that stress, how to counteract that stress so that they're not impacted by it, so that they can raise their kids to have a better chance of having mental health.
Definitely. I love it.
And the beautiful thing about this business model is that, you know, we have one here, but with each new patent that we launch, we can launch a new manufacturing plant in another location. So we can have one in North Carolina, we can have one in Dallas, we can have one in California. So we can duplicate what we're doing in other areas and really make the impact bigger.
I love it. You said a lot there, and I might go off a script a little bit because I want, like you, I can tell it's gonna be this is already a great conversation. But you're obviously a very successful entrepreneur. I want to first hit on maybe a little bit. If I dig too deep, just let me know, and I won't. But let's talk about like the impact of marriage and being an entrepreneur, and then how that divorce impacted you too. Because there's a lot of people that I guess are starting off at an entrepreneur journey and they don't want to involve their partner, and some do. Give us like I guess your insights on somebody maybe beginning or in the journey with their partner and an entrepreneur journey.
Well, when things were good, it was fantastic. I loved it. When things got stressful, it was really tough because it's both, you know, it's work and home, and we pretty much lived whatever was going on at work. We lived at home, and we both were kind of workaholics. So we really enjoyed work. We enjoyed business. We enjoyed doing what we did, and we enjoyed doing it together. It was a good journey. But what I learned early on, if somebody is going to go in business with their partner, is that this, having a shelf where you can put things so that you can deal with whatever's in the present moment. So what we learned to do is not bring home problems to work, and then not bring work problems to home. So like if I was mad at him for whatever, leaving his drawers on the floor, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
I was having a bad day. When we got to work, the moment we got to work, like that went in a book and went on the shelf. It's like, we're going to deal with that later. We're not dealing with it at work. So then when we were at work, we actually just conversed like nothing was going on. And I think that actually prolonged our marriage because we learned how to communicate when we weren't happy with each other. We could kind of put that aside, deal with the issues at work. And then once we started talking, it was like, okay, why are we really mad at each other? I don't even remember why I was mad at you. So I think having that ability to segregate certain things gave us the ability to work together. The divorce was incredibly difficult. It was so difficult. Divorce is difficult anyway. And when you have a business involved, it was a 4.5-year divorce. So it was a long, drawn out process. And there was a lot of stress. And in hindsight, none of it was a big deal. In hindsight, it would have been better to just say, okay, let's throw it all away and like go our separate ways, or like throw away the business and fix our marriage. A lot of the stuff that I thought was a big deal when I was in the middle of it, now looking back, it was like, oh yeah, that didn't necessarily require that kind of extreme action, but you live and learn. And when you're young and don't have hindsight to rely on, it's hard to say. But I think it can be great to work together with your partner if you guys have similar values and dreams and goals and desires. I think it's fun.
Definitely. Okay, that's a perfect answer. Obviously, you're a experienced entrepreneur. Tell us your path from like high school to college, and we know how you started IP2Market, but tell us how you really, I guess, refined your entrepreneurial skills from high school to college to where you are now.
Okay, so high school to college, I was a college dropout. Okay. I was horrible at school. I did not learn well in a classroom environment. I'm a hands-on tactical learner, so I have to do in order to learn. And so school was just not my forte. I went back to school 3 or 4 times thinking I really thought I wanted to be a psychologist or a social worker or something like that. And so, but that takes a lot of years of school. Yeah. And I couldn't even make it through one semester. It was really, really tough for me. And I think I have probably some ADHD and some undiagnosed neurological issues. So I after the 5th time of trying to go back to school, I remember I was like, I was like, I'm going to finish this semester no matter what. And then something happened that was outside of my control. And I literally had to choose like my work or my school. And it was a family business and the owner had died. Like it was a really bad deal. And I wanted to be there for them. Yeah. And so at that point I thought, you know what, school's not for me. I'm going to let go of that. I'm going to let go of that need that I thought I had to get a degree and just flow with life. And I just went and got a job. Well, I was working at an insurance agency as a receptionist. So it was really an entry-level job. And I thought, I'm just going to put my heart and soul into this and just live each day, not worry about the future, not worry about what I'm going to end up doing, and just do the best I can here. And literally within, I believe it was like 7 years, I owned my own insurance agency. So I'd gone from receptionist and I went through every position. I just kept promoting, and then ended up like, I can do this. I want to own my own insurance agency. And I always knew I would have a business for some reason. That was just something that was part of my soul, I guess, when I came to the planet. So I knew I would have a business someday. I just didn't know what it would be. And so I did insurance, and then I ended up following that path and started an insurance agency.
It sounded like you kind of surrendered.
There was when I mentioned that, I was like, wow, I did that before in my life and it worked out
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's good. I mean, I know me as an entrepreneur, I know I'm definitely a workaholic and I almost never surrender. So hearing that from you is like it's like my wife and my mom like just telling me that over and over over and over again, like replaying in my head, honestly. It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny.
No, that's a big when you are ambitious and when you're driven and when you have goals and dreams and desires, it's easy to get in there and take control and try to manage everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can be successful doing that. There's people that are very successful doing that.
Yeah.
And I was successful doing that too, but then I ended up with cancer and I ended up, with health issues. Um, and so now doing it in a surrender state, it's a lot more ease and a lot more power
Yeah.
that comes in when I'm not trying to control it. I've learned in this
Yeah.
last surrender experiment, really learned that there is a force in this universe that is for us, that is here to actuate our potential. And it is working 24/7. So we don't have to. Our job is to stay aligned with who we truly are and to stay in touch with our higher self or with God or whatever that spiritual connection is that we have. Find that, gravitate to that, and stay with that every single day and follow the next yes. This force and this power is just enormous, and it's not linear like we think. So we always think, okay, here's my goal. Now I'm going to backtrack it. So I got to do X, all these steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I do A, B, C, D, E, I'm going to get to F. And that's how we manage things with our mind.
Yeah.
But what I found is that this force comes in and it goes A, B, D, Z. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, boom, all this happens at once. And then in hindsight, you're like, that was brilliant. I would have never thought of that, right? I would have never done this, but okay, let's go.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I got like a new job today, and it's like what you said. Like I had the steps lined up, and like I went through multiple interviews and didn't get the jobs, even though I had like the path set. And like this job just like came out of nowhere, and I got it on the first try. And it's like it's kind of weird, but it's kind of destined for me to get it almost. Like,
Yes.
but yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. Okay, I love it. Tell us. I mean, I know you said at the beginning you're an owner of 5 businesses. Usually, I ask like the people like their day to day in their position, but you're obviously unique. Give us like the evolution of like your business ownership. Like I know you were first in insurance, now you're IP2Market, but I guess let's get the businesses in between and why you switched like those different business models. That makes sense.
Okay, yeah. The first business, it was commercial insurance. We did property and liability for businesses. So that was fun. I love business. And so doing insurance for the different businesses, I got to learn a lot about other people's businesses and how they worked and what they needed. And then the second business, that's when I met my husband, and he was in radio advertising, and he sold radio advertising to the California Indian tribes who also had casinos. And so he said, he told one of his managers at the casino that he had met a girl who does insurance. And the guy was like, have her come talk to me. We need a good insurance agent. And so that morphed into doing insurance only for the Indian tribes in California. And so we really, really niched into that. And I went from having 500 clients to having 12. But I went from making $1,500 a month take home to that. I mean, like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What?
So it was like a huge contrast for me. And I thought, well, this is the way to do it. It's not about quantity and number of clients. It's about that quality. And how do you find those quality clients? So then we really learned that was very, very powerful. And then, like I said, then I had breast cancer and we wanted to work less. And so we thought having a product-based business would give us the ability to work less. And my husband at the time, he was bass fishermen, tournament bass fishermen. And so he
Nice.
was up in Lake Shasta, and it was a 2-day tournament. It was the second day, and they were 2 ounces out of first place. And so they were really close. They thought they could really win the money on that tournament. So they fished up until the very last minute, and then they had a 45-minute drive to weigh in. And if you're late to weigh in, for every minute you're late, you get deducted a pound. So if they were late by a minute, they would have lost.
Oh man.
But when they hunkered down, this big black cloud rolled in, and they started sleeting and hailing. And so they had a 45-minute drive going 60 miles an hour with no windshield.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so their face just got pelted. And so they got to weigh in, and he looked around, and everybody had red pelts all over their face. And he says, that's a product that needs to be invented, a face mask for fishermen. And so he called me and he said, hey, I got our product, because we were looking for, a unique, innovative product. And I said, okay, what is it? He said, it's a face mask for fishermen. And I thought, well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And so I said, okay. So he did some surveys and talked to some other fishermen, and they all said, yes, it's a great idea. And so we said, okay. So we sold the insurance agency and bought 10,000 fisherman face masks and went to selling them. And within a couple of years, we had it in Bass Pro Shops. Bass Pro Shops had bought the product and they were selling it, and it was doing really well. And then from there, people that were wearing the face mask were also wanting to they loved the face mask because we had these really cool designs, and they would have like skulls on them and flames and all these different graphics on the face mask. And they said, well, can you make this into a welding helmet? And we thought, well, why not? But so we created the world's first and only welding helmet that had a 180-degree lens design. So the lens actually gave the welder peripheral vision versus the welding helmets typically that you have this little window in front of you and you can't see on the sides. So if you're welding up under a car, it's really hard to see where you're welding. So we launched the world's first and only welding helmet with 180-degree lens design. Snap-on Tools picked it up right away. And that launched us. And so that's where we ended up going up to the 5 million mark with that product, with those 2 products.
What?
Yes. And then like I said, there was an ex-employee that sued. And then my ex-partner actually ended up forging a document under oath. And it just didn't turn out well at all. And at that point, the trust was broken between he and I, and we could never recover from that. And then we ended up losing everything because as a result of that one action, that one act costed us everything. So if I have any advice for people, it's like, don't lie.
Yeah.
Like, just don't lie. There's no reason to lie. You don't have to lie. But anyway, so then we lost all that. So then you know the rest of the story.
Man, that's a great story though, and it's funny because growing up I used to go to bass fishing tournaments myself. Okay. So I know my dad used to take us fishing all the time. So
you know what it feels like to drive across the lake with no windshield.
Oh yeah, like I've been in Bass Pro Shops probably. I've been recently. I've been fishing a long time, but when I probably was like from 5 to 15, like at least once a week, definitely. So
yeah,
okay, I love it. Okay, honestly, this has been a great interview. So we're gonna hop right to the speed round, honestly, because like you've said a lot, and I think people got a lot of value from what you said. And I'll probably bring you back for round 2 because I know there's a lot that we haven't talked about. Honestly. Yeah. I don't want to keep you all night. I know it's storming there. Yeah. So we're gonna go to the not so speed round. What are 4 words that describe a successful entrepreneur?
Okay, perseverance, for sure. Discipline, innovation, and problem solving.
Can you elaborate on discipline for us?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for asking that, because for me, the discipline is in my mind. It's internal discipline. It's disciplining. It's not letting my mind go to the worst case scenario every time. It's disciplining my mind to be present. I tend to worry a lot. And so I automatically go to the negative. Like there's the other shoe's going to drop and it's just right around the corner. And I constantly have to be like looking over my shoulder and making sure everything's okay. And so for me, the discipline is a daily practice. There's my daily, like, what do I call it? I call it the non-negotiables. So I have certain things every day that I do every day that's just non-negotiable. And one of those is meditation. So a morning meditation practice that clears my mind, that gives me a centered groundedness that I can start my day with. That's something I just won't do without. Eating healthy food and nourishing my body, sleeping 8 hours a night or how much ever sleep I need. I don't compromise that. I don't stay up late to finish emails. I literally will say, no, I'm going to sleep because sleep is so important. So taking care of my body, because entrepreneurs, especially workaholic entrepreneurs, we tend to wear our bodies out and we tend to eat on the go and we go, 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 go. So what I've learned over time is that discipline of taking care of my mind, my body, and my soul allows me to create with a whole lot more power and ease. So the discipline for me is internal.
That was like the perfect example. And I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, like definitely lack a lot of internal discipline. Like I can be disciplined with my goals sometimes, like, hey, like do this activity to get this result, but definitely internally it's definitely difficult.
Yeah. But the thing is, what I found for me, and maybe this isn't true for everybody, but for me, when my insides are right, the outside is just so easy. I mean, I hate to say it's easy, but like I've been doing this for 5 years now and it's easy when the inside is right. So I take a lot of my grit and determination and all of those, discipline, and I apply it to the internal state of myself. And then the external is more like a reflection of what's going on internally. And I think this is something we're going to see more and more in the future. This is more of a new way of thinking or a new way of approaching life, is that internal state, and how the external really is, it reflects what's on the inside. And like I said, that force that is here to bring our potential to life, it is working through us all the time. But if we are putting garbage in our bodies, if we are allowing our thoughts to be garbage, if we are allowing our emotions to control our behavior, then that life force energy, it's still coming through, but we're filtering it. It's going through, like our bodies are like a filter. Our mind and bodies are like a filter. So this life force energy is coming through and it is actuating our potential without much of our involvement. But when we are clear, we're a clear conduit. It comes through with a lot of power and ease. When we're grimy, when we're not taking care of our insides, that's a filter. So it's kind of like a governor that keeps that life force energy from really being a free flow of who we truly are and what we're meant to be.
I love that. I love it. There's no need for me to even elaborate on it because you explained it extremely well. I love the reflection part though. That's like the interior is a reflection of the exterior. I love it. What does a world look like without entrepreneurship?
Ooh, I don't think entrepreneurship brings innovation. It brings new thoughts. It brings new ways of doing things. It brings new ways of being. So a world without entrepreneurship is like a world without innovation. It's a world without really moving forward, changing. It's a stagnant world, I think.
That's the word I was thinking. Definitely stagnant. Okay. You've highlighted some of it already, but what's the good, the bad, and the ugly associated with being a founder of your own companies?
It's lonely. It can be a lonely place to be. When you are driving the ship or you're leading the ship or guiding the ship and you're looking at your forecast or you're looking at, okay, payroll's on Friday and I don't have the money in the bank. You can't go talk to anybody in your business about that. right? You can't go tell your employee, like, oh, I'm a little bit freaked out because I don't have money in the bank for payroll. That's not a conversation you can have. And so there's not a lot of people to process through the stress that you're dealing with. You can't, I mean, like, you can't even have that conversation with a friend that's not an entrepreneur, because a friend, anytime you have that conversation with somebody that doesn't understand entrepreneurship, they look at you like either with judgment, like, why are you're so irresponsible? Why are you doing that? Or they look at you with like deer in the headlight eyes. Like, I don't even know how to get you $50,000 by Friday. Like, I don't know how that's going to work for you. So they can't really help. So finding, for me, it can be lonely at the top, and finding a tribe of entrepreneurs that I could connect with and that I could, pull resources from, and that would help me through some of the challenges, and I would help them. That was an invaluable resource that I found on my entrepreneurial journey, is finding a group of entrepreneurs that I could talk to.
I love it. Are you underpaid or overpaid as an entrepreneur?
Well, I don't think in a standard for-profit business, they're typically, in a corporate business, there's a lot of greed at the top. I don't, at this point, at this season of my life, I think I'm just right paid. I'm not looking to, make millions and millions I'm looking to make millions and millions of dollars. It's not for me personally. I don't care about that anymore. I'm more about impact. So I think it's really up to the entrepreneur. I think you can make as much or not make as much. It's really up to you.
True. Very true. What's one person, book, or event that changed the trajectory of your life?
Okay. I would say, gosh, I would say the biggest change was learning about human design. Have you ever heard of human design?
Somebody mentioned it to me, and now you have me thinking of who. I know it was an entrepreneur, like I know it was, but I don't remember who. Maybe I read a book about it, but I know I've heard of the concept.
It is. I learned about it in about 6 years ago, and it gives you a blueprint, an energetic blueprint for you, and it's based on your time, date, and place of birth. It combines a bunch of different ancient wisdoms. So it combines the Jewish Kabbalah, the Hindu chakras, the astrology, and quantum physics. So it's newer. It just came like around in the 80s. I think it's when it was born, but it gives a roadmap, an energetic roadmap for what is correct for you, because we all are different. We're all designed differently. And there's this neutrino stream I'm going to get into this deep. There's a neutrino stream that you can cut whatever you need to cut out of this. But I think it's important to talk about. There's this neutrino stream that's coming from the universe, and we're all bathed in it, and we're all impacted by it. And it changes all the time. It's constantly changing. But the basis of this human design and your own unique blueprint is that when you are born and you take that first breath, you're breathing in that neutrino stream of that moment, and it imprints your human design. And it understanding your human design gives you a blueprint and a way to interact with life that is true to who you are. So instead of, we were born into the world and we're indoctrinated into how to be. We're told, don't do this, be this, be like everybody else. And we go to this school for, 12, 18 years that tells us this is how everybody learns. This is what you're supposed to learn. And it's very much homogenizing. It makes everybody similar. And it doesn't really honor the unique gifts of each individual. Well, human design takes you back to your unique individual gifts. And it says, this is how each one of us is designed to live, how we're designed to make decisions, what we're designed to do, like what we're here for. Each one of us has a purpose in all of humanity. And what is that purpose? When I learned those things, it allowed me to try on different hats, if you will, and test out these different ideas. So I'm a visionary. I'm a leader by my human design. But prior to learning about my human design, I was not. I was the CFO of all the businesses we had before. I wasn't the CEO. I wasn't the visionary. And so when I learned that about myself, I thought, well, okay, let me try it on. Like, if I am a visionary, let's see what happens if I accept that role. And I accepted it. And then all of a sudden things just started boom, 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 just started happening. And so each time I aligned with my design, things would happen a lot more simply, a lot more easily, with a lot more power. And so it's an experiment. Human design is meant to be an experiment. It's meant to say, okay, here's your human design according to the book. And then you go out and live it and experiment with it. And each person is shown then their path, what is correct for them. But it's like a cheater's manual. It's like an owner's manual for you as an individual. And then you get to experiment and try it on and say, okay, well, if this is who I am, let me try that on. And then life really just wraps around us when we are aligned with what's true for us.
Check it out, human design. Okay.
That is the one thing, and I teach human design. Because I have a group of entrepreneurs that I work with, and I'm constantly talking about human design, because where we're going in the future is different than where we've been in the past.
Yeah.
And we don't have a roadmap for where we're going in the future. Definitely. It's coming through us as people, as entrepreneurs, especially. We're bringing this new way of being, but our next generation is bringing a whole new way of being.
Yeah.
Right? They're not participating in the old style for-profit business where they break their backs for 60 years and they get a gold watch at the end. They're not. They're like, no, thank you. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And so everything's shifting in a big way. So understanding our human design, it gives us a pathway into this new way of being without taking along the past that we've been conditioned within our mind.
I love it. Okay. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check human design out. I'm gonna look into it. Okay.
Yes.
Last question. Let's say we were young. Let's say her name is Tracy. She's 18 years old. She heard this podcast and she wants to become an entrepreneur. What's the advice that you give her to become like you?
Okay. So I would give her the advice of finding out her human design, really do the internal discovery of who she is and what she's passionate about. And when she finds what she's passionate about, then explore ways to make money with that and follow the next yes. Follow the next yes. Find an older entrepreneur that will mentor her and guide her along her journey. Will shorten her learning curve for sure. That's what I would say. I would say, be true to who you are. Find out who you are. Like, do the self-discovery. Take the time to do the self-discovery. Incorporate the discipline for your internal state, and find somebody that can be a guide for you and help you along your journey.
Definitely. I love it. This has been an amazing interview, Staci. Give some last few words, like shout outs to your businesses. Like if you have social medias, websites, do all that.
Okay, awesome. Anybody can find me on any of the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. My handle is staci.renee.ceo. And Renee, it's Staci, Staci. Renee is RENEE.ceo. And that is where I pretty much put all of my stuff right now. If anybody has any inventions that they need help with for patenting or engineering or manufacturing, or they just have an idea that they want to sell, we will buy ideas that are patentable and have mass market appeal. We pay 2% royalty for the product for the life of the product. So if anybody has anything like that, reach out to me. They can direct message me on any of the social media platforms. And if anybody wants to learn about human design, I am happy to do introduction readings for human design for people.
Definitely. We love it. Thank you, Staci. Everybody, reach out to Staci. I'll put everything that you said in the thumbnail down below. Thank you guys for watching the Unknown Options. Please comment, like, and subscribe. You have a nice evening.